everyone, it's Ashley Newell with you for this week's Make It Monday challenge, and I have a tutorial to show you how you can use your cover plates and watercoloring technique to come up with cool background designs for your cards. So I hope you enjoyed this week's challenge. To get started, you'll need watercolor paper and some cardstock. I have already die cut the cover plate Mighty Oak die from regular cardstock, and I have it matted over top some watercolor paper. Okay, now I'm just using some water to sort of set my watercolor paper. I'm just painting on the inside of the leaves on with using the cover plate Mighty Oak die as my template. And the results, as you saw on my card in the beginning of this video, basically gives you an outline of an image, a watercolor image, without stamping, so you can use your cover plate sort of as a stencil when you want to use a watercoloring technique. Okay, so now that I have some water set onto my watercolor paper, specifically on the leaves, I am using now a smaller paintbrush with some Harvest Gold Re-Inker ink and a little bit of water. You can play with the amount of water you use and the amount of re-inker you use in order to get the right colors that you want. So the more direct ink you use from your re-inker, the more true color you'll get, so to speak. And if you want to add a little bit of water, you can easily do that to soften the colors. So as you can see, I've already done some there and they've muted out a little bit. So I'm going back and adding a little bit more Harvest Gold because I want it to be a lot more stronger of a yellow. Now I'm taking a little bit of Summer Sunrise to blend it in a little bit more in some spots where I left it empty. And using this technique, just using regular cardstock, it's going to bleed a little bit, okay, just to let you know. If you don't want it to bleed at all, you will need to secure your cover, whatever you die cut your my cover plate with something, and then adhere it down a little bit better than I did. I just adhered it down with painter's tape around the edge, as you can see there. All right, so now I have a little bit of Canyon Clay re-inker, and I'm using a little bit of water here and there, but mostly just using a lot of the re-inker there to make sure I have a nice strong orange hue on my leaves. Okay, there are a lot of different ways and different colors you can use. You can kind of use the same hues as I'm using here, or you can change them up and have some greens, some burgundies, some more reds, and blend them up. But I chose to have my tree just more oranges and yellows. And this technique can be used with a lot of our other cover plates, like the chevrons and the circles. The diagonals or the stripes are good ones. Center Stage is another one that I think will look great with this technique. And Mighty Bloom, I think that one will look really nice with this technique. So I would definitely take a look at your cover plate dies and decide which one you want to use. Also, the floral ones, like the peony one, would look really cool with this technique. Now I'm going back and using some water again and setting my watercolor paper with the in the branch or in the tree trunk section of this particular template. And now I have some Classic Craft re-inker and a little bit of water to watercolor the tree trunk and the tree branches. So I'm just going to quickly just watercolor in there, and so I have an outline of the actual tree branches as well. And this is a really cool way just to get more mileage out of your cover plate dies, as opposed to just using them to die cut cardstocks, papers, pattern papers, or just stamping with them. You can also use them sort of as a stencil, as a guideline. You can doodle with them with your stencils, and you can even probably stamp with them. I didn't do that on this particular project, but you can even stamp with them using this technique with a stencil. You would just need to die cut it from a thinner piece of paper, like printer paper. Okay, so I've already dried my project. So now this is the results. You see how it's kind of You can see the outlines of some of the leaves, but there's still some areas in there that I want to fill in. So I'm just going back in with my water brush and setting my watercolor paper with some water. And now I'm just going to go ahead and start with the Harvest Gold ink and fill in Summer Sunrise inks and fill in the blank areas. And this is just going to make it a little bit fuller of looking of a tree, more complete. But I like the variables of the results that you get with watercoloring. The cool thing about this is you definitely know it's a tree because the watercolor tree trunk and the branches are very identifiable using just the Mighty Oak cover plate as your stencil. Okay, so now I'm going in a little bit more with some Canyon Clay ink and just filling in my tree just to my liking. I definitely could have stopped here. It's just up to you how much ink, how much blending you want to really do. It's really up to your creative interest. Okay, so I think I'm going to be about done now filling in some of my ink. So I'm going to go ahead and let it dry. And here is my finished project dried. Some of my inks blended together and it looks really cool. I am finishing my card now. I'm using Counting My Blessings stamps and dies. And I stamped it with dark chocolate ink, the sentiment that says to have you in my life. And then I die cut the blessed word a few times just to give it some dimension and layered it together. To finish my card, I'm going to mat it on an A2 terracotta tile card front. And that is really it. And it's a nice watercolor tree. And like I said, you can do this with a lot of your cover plate dies. I hope you'll join me this week, and I can't wait to see what you make with your cover plate dies and do watercoloring types of projects. Thanks so much for joining me for this week's Make It Monday challenge. I'm Ashley Newell for Paper Tray Ink. Bye.